Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. You're listening to our D&D game. I'm your host, the Dungeon Master, and today we're going to be talking about Arawn, the Celtic god of death. He is featured, by the way, in the old Deities and Demigods book. And I don't know if it was sort of like because it was before the internet or what, but the version of Arawn in D&D differs quite a bit from the version of Arawn in mythology. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as a disclaimer up front that I'm sure some people are going to listen to this and be like, "What are you smoking?" It's not what I was smoking. It's what Gygax was smoking in the 70s or whatever when they wrote Deities and Demigods. But at any rate, let's dive in. The prologue takes place in 433 AD. Lancelot is doing this kind of cat and mouse thing, right? Morgan Le Fay, aka the Morrigan, right? Um, she had captured him. Um, she was doing different things to him because he was screwing with Arthur. He was making Arthur miserable, so the Morrigan was going to make Lancelot miserable. That's the gist, okay? And they're doing stuff to Lancelot and he gets away and they catch him and he gets away and there's this whole big thing. So at the beginning of this, he escapes from Castle Chariot with the help of Duke Roshadon's daughter. He visits Castle Carbonek after his escape and is seduced by Elaine, granddaughter of King Pelham. And it's with her, he gets her pregnant, right? And so the baby she's going to have is Galahad. At any rate, after Galahad is conceived, Lancelot is captured by Morgan Le Fay again. And one of the reasons for this, by the way, is this is to try to reconcile, because obviously the subject of King Arthur is very popular, and a ton of authors have chimed in, over the years. And nobody like does stuff that matches what the other guys are doing, right? So that's one of the reasons for this. Lancelot is captured, but now he's free to conceive a child, but now he's captured again. It's it's all about trying to make all of those things work together somehow. Does that make sense? At any rate, so he's captured again, and this time Morgan Le Fay is using drugs, and she's she's yeah, what wording do I want to use here? He submits. He's just brought down. He's controllable in this state. At any rate, so he begins to paint the story of his life on the walls of his room, and that includes how much he loves the unfaithful Guinevere, which we've talked about in other videos. At any rate, that's the prologue. The plot takes place in 434 AD. So Lancelot is in his cell looking at a rose when Arawn, the Celtic god of death, attacks Morrigan, right? They are both immortals and they are not on the same side, to put it mildly. Lancelot escapes in the confusion, and the Morrigan and her many sisters, by the way, all fight the evil immortal. He retreats and regroups and disguises himself as a priest. So Lancelot, who's running away and he's coming out of the drugs and all that, but he's still insane, right? Which we also mentioned earlier. he runs into Mordred, who is Morrigan's nephew. Um, his mother is Morrigan's one of the sisters. At any rate, so Lancelot and Mordred travel for a little while together, and at this point, Mordred is a hero. His dad has been around while he's been growing up. He's loved on. Um, Actually, things are pretty great. When you think of Mordred, you don't usually think of that sort of stuff, right? Well, at any rate, while Mordred and Lancelot are traveling together, they meet this priest who is secretly Arawn, and he tells Mordred that his real mother is Morgan Le Fay, and that she and Arthur were secretly brother and sister, which is, they're all lies, right? But Arawn begins to poison Mordred's mind, and he's manipulating the situation, and he's putting Mordred down the path that will destroy Arthur. Um, and Arawn and all the Immortals are detailed in the Wrath of the Immortals box set, right? And the various Immortals, they follow these various spheres, they call them. And so Arawn is the sphere of entropy. And so he's really into destroying things. That's the takeaway. So he wants to destroy Arthur. He wants to destroy everything Arthur has accomplished. He wants to destroy Camelot, Round Table, everything, right? Because part of the King Arthur story is that Camelot is a beacon of light in a dark world, right? So Arawn is drawn to that like a moth, and he just wants to wreck it. So he's doing a pretty good job so far. At any rate, Morgan and her sisters flee to Camelot, and as soon as they do, Arawn attacks, right? Everybody, except for like Lancelot and Mordred, obviously, who are elsewhere, but everybody else just dog piles on him, right? And so we play out this massive battle, and it came very, very close to a total party kill. There were very few characters who survived this battle. Um, and like earlier, I mentioned the Wrath of the Immortals stuff, right? So in that boxed set, they explain that there is a hierarchy of immortals. They have kind of like a feudal system, and the ones that you're interacting with are not necessarily the guy who's like the king of the mountain. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily the leader of that sphere of influence. So Arawn is not the leader of the entropy sphere, right? So he has superiors, is the idea. And so he actually has rules. All the immortals have agreed to certain rules they must abide by. So one of them is, you've got like your true form as an immortal, and then there's your kind of like a mortal avatar that you can create to walk the earth. And so that's what Arawn has done here, is even though everybody's fighting an immortal, he's not in his true form. He's always just becoming some kind of a powerful warrior, and fighting him that way. And at any rate, at the end of this really, really long battle, the Knights of the Round Table are able to kill the Avatar. And so then the situation there, again, according to that book, is he is basically, he can't return to the prime material plane for a number of days equal to his hit points. So, for instance, a character with 1,000 hit points wouldn't be able to come back for 1,000 days, right? So they get rid of him for now, but he's coming back, you know. So the end of that is with all of the death and the destruction and everything, you know, we wanted to end with something brighter. So Lancelot's son, Galahad, is born. And as much as everybody hates Lancelot and as much as Josh played Lance as a jerk, you know what I mean? To an equal measure, that is how much everybody loves Galahad, and that is how um, heroic Galahad is, right? Um, so yeah, so him entering is good. Um, then we get into the epilogue. The epilogue takes place in 435 AD. Brumont, I guess, making good on a foolish oath, sits in the Siege Perilous and is incinerated by a pillar of fire. I am curious if that's where the word hot seat comes from. I don't know. At any rate, so yeah, that was the big game with Arawn. I've used him a couple of times, but yeah, that one was definitely most of my players' introduction to the character, and I would sum it up as shock and awe. They were like, wow, holy crap, you know, this is just a whole nother level that we haven't had to deal with before. So I hope that you found this one to be interesting. If so, be sure to smash that like button. It really helps out the channel. Leave us a comment, ring the bell, subscribe, all that jazz. And we'll see you next time. Bye.